So let's say that there like a new pizzeria opens up in your town. And let's say a couple of days later, somebody asks you to recommend a good pizzeria. Chances are you're not going to recommend that new pizzeria, right? You're going to recommend probably one that you've tried a dozen or more times, or ones that your friends love, or ones that everybody in the city loves. Even if that new pizzeria that just opened is really cool looking and has a great looking logo and closer to you than all the other ones, the fact of the matter is that we need time as consumers to trust new businesses. And that's the same thing for our record labels. We're going to discuss this. Hello, I'm Scott, and welcome to Other Record Labels. And today we're going to talk about the sad truth that record labels take time. And the fact of the matter is that everything takes time. If you are in the process of starting a record label, or you're thinking about starting a record label, I have a toolkit that you can download that has tons of different resources and templates and checklists in it and sample contracts. You can go to otherrecordlabels.com/toolkit to download that for free. So social media has tricked us into thinking that things happen quickly. And I'm not just talking about the virality of social media posts. I mean that social media makes us think weight loss happens quickly, or finding a great job happens quickly, or building a business happens quickly, or developing a new habit happens quickly. We've really begun to underestimate what it takes to do great things. The fact is, hard things take time. Great things take time. Otherwise, they wouldn't be hard and they wouldn't be great. If you've spent any time on social media, or if you grew up in the internet age, then you've probably fallen victim to this built-in illusion that big things happen quickly, and they don't. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of frustrations that things just don't pick up right away, that it's hard to make a record label profitable, or it's hard to gain an audience, or it's hard to gain the trust of the media and the press, but you can't expedite good things. Social media makes us think that we can, but you can't hurry up success. Time is the one variable in business that we can't control. We can inject more cash and we can work harder. We can say, I'm going to work 24 hours a day, or I'm going to bring on more people, or I'm going to get an investor, or I'm going to get a bank loan, or use my credit cards. You can increase the amount of money you spend and the amount of hard work and labor that you give, but time is something you can't add more of. You can't inject time into the equation. And that's this variable that makes things really unpredictable and really ultimately frustrating. But I think that time is a good thing. And I have 3 reasons why I think that time is a good thing for record labels, that it takes time to break even, that it takes time to build multiple revenue streams, that it takes time to earn an audience. I think these are all good things, and I have 3 reasons why. Number 1 is that time tests our resolve. Are we doing something that we can stick with for 10 years? How do we know? How do we know that we'll be as excited as we are today in 10 years from now? How do we know? Time tests that resolve that we have. It tests us. It gives us these obstacle courses that we have to go through. And at the end of it, we go, are we still passionate about this label? Are we still going to stick with it? And the truth is that some people don't stick with it. And time does that. Time weeds out people who aren't passionate or aren't serious about this. I've talked about the entrepreneurial seizure before. I know a lot of you enjoy that Michael Gerber coined phrase, entrepreneurial seizure. What that means is that some people get this overwhelming feeling when they get a new idea, even for a new project, not just a new business, and they do all their research and they Google everything and they secure the domain names and they secure the Instagram names and everything. And they just feel all this emotion and this rush of blood to the head in the first day or the first week, but then it slowly dissipates, right? And then life comes back to normal. The novelty of our new business starts to wear off. That's an entrepreneurial seizure. And so time kind of tests that. It waits for the entrepreneurial seizure to wear off and then sees if we're still sticking around even when things aren't as sexy or glamorous. It also tests the resolve of our partners and the people on our team. And maybe we have all these people who have caught our entrepreneurial seizure at the beginning and they're all on board, but then as their life changes, as the months and the years go on and they get married or they go to school or they have kids, then all of a sudden they fall off and concentrate on things that they're really passionate about. Or maybe the opposite. Maybe 1 or 2 people start to really hone in and say, these are the people we're left with who are going to help us build and grow this label. Number 2 is that time narrows our focus. This is what I really love. I started my label in 2010. I had been an independent artist for a while, and some friends and I were working on a record, and I asked them if they wanted to help legitimize what I was doing as an independent artist, and we could share resources and share friends and fans. And so we created this label. And then 5 years went by of doing the same thing, and I released this compilation to celebrate our 5th birthday, and it was a bit of a fundraiser. And then in the 6th year, 2016, 2016 is where I started feeling like I was doing the same thing over and over. I wasn't really seeing tremendous growth, and I felt like I was always promoting myself. I felt like everything I was doing was talking about me, my label, my artists. Even though I was promoting their releases, I still felt like every tweet, every post, every email was all about me, the label. And I thought, that's got to change. I've got to fix that because it was really getting at me. And I'm not sure if it was annoying my audience, but I felt like I was. And so I came up with this idea. I was really obsessed with recording studios and gear and recording gear and synths and guitars and all that stuff. So I decided to go to some local recording studios, bring a film crew, just one guy, and film an interview with that recording studio owner. And we would talk about gear and we would put it up on YouTube, and it was produced by my record label. What did it have to do with the artists on my label? I don't know. But the idea was that it would elevate the whole. The idea was that if people came to watch something that brought them value, it was just them getting to peer into recording studios on YouTube, which, you know, people love unboxing. They love gear reviews. So this was a big thing. So I thought, I'll just try this out and it'll be something for me to promote that isn't about me. Well, it went really well. I mean, it went huge, like tens of thousands of views on all the videos. People still watch them today. And I got to meet people in the industry. It had nothing to do with my record label other than it was just me and the brand of my record label and our YouTube channel, but it elevated the whole label at the same time. And then, because I love talking to people and I love promoting other people than just myself, I started the podcast Other Record Labels, and I started this YouTube channel, Other Record Labels. And so that was this pivoting that happened as I started exploring new opportunities. And that's what time allowed, because that happened in 2016. And then it pivoted to this show in 2018. And so that's what I really love, is that time will allow us to focus. It allows us to not only focus and to narrow, but actually to just nest, to slowly niche down more and more until we find our spot in the music industry that is super comfortable for us. And so maybe for you, that is finding that ideal customer, that ideal avatar, celebrating whatever it is that you share in common with them, whether that's a social justice issue or some sort of value or some geographic location, or if it's just the subgenre that you promote, is to get more and more focused. And time does that. It allows us to focus. It also just really helps us scatter the things that aren't working and to start to focus more on the things we're passionate about that are actually generating fans and generating revenue, and to stop doing the things that isn't. And number 3 is that time breeds consistency, which then breeds confidence. And I think that customers and the general public, they put us through this like subconscious test where they want to just make sure we're still around. Let's go back to that pizza analogy, that pizzeria analogy I mentioned at the very beginning. If a new pizzeria opens close to your house, you're putting them through this subconscious, maybe conscious test to be like, I'm not going to recommend them necessarily to anyone or talk about them or maybe even go there until I've heard a few reviews, or maybe I've read about them on social media or in the paper, or maybe I'll go try it once and then I'll wait a couple of months and try it again to see if they're consistent. So we put businesses as consumers, we put businesses through these tests, and sometimes they're conscious and sometimes they're subconscious. And I think customers and music fans do the same thing to us and our artists. They want to see people who are going to be around for a while. And people in the industry do this to us as well. If we pitch to a magazine and say, hey, we're an up and coming label, they might cover us or they might not. A blog might ignore us because they just think we're a fly-by-night thing and we're not here to stay. But over time, they start to hear from us. I remember a really great blog said to me, responded to one of my press pitches, and I've been sending them press pitches for at the time it was about 4 or 5 years. And one day they just responded and say, I always love seeing your press pitches. They're always laid out so nice. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I don't think this blog had ever written about our stuff, but I had constantly sent them stuff. And just one day they responded with something really nice, like kind words. And I just thought that was interesting, but it was because I was consistent, and consistency breeds confidence. And so that's really important to understand, that time allows us to show that we are someone that they can rely on as music fans and people in the industry as well. If it's a distributor, if it's a publicist, if it's a publication, they can learn to rely on us because we've been around for a while, and time allows that. This consistency breeds confidence because we just get better at doing what we're doing as we focus and as we continue to do it. So building is something that you do. It is an active verb. It's the compounding of efforts. It's the act of taking a single brick and piling them on top of another brick. Whereas growing happens naturally. It's a passive verb, not something that you can speed up or slow down. And it's not directly correlated with our efforts. Sometimes it happens fast and sometimes it happens painfully slow. And so understanding the difference between building and growing is very important. We can build all we want. We can buy more supplies. We can get more people to help us. We can stay up late and keep building and building and building. But growing is not something that you can fabricate. Growing is not something that you can rush. And so it's important that we understand the difference between building and growing. Listen, I know this is kind of out there, a little bit philosophical. I hope that you have found this helpful. I just ultimately hope that you have found this encouraging, because record labels take time. Anything that's great takes time. Understand that. And if you stick with it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, you're going to look back and go, wow, look how I was able to test my resolve and to harden my passion for running a record label and for promoting artists. Look how time allowed me to focus on the things that work and to find the area of running a record label that I'm most passionate at and I'm most good at. Look how we have bred this confidence and we have created a community of people that support us and love us. I hope you found this helpful. Go to otherrecordlabels.com for resources for independent labels of all sizes and all stages. Thanks for watching.